Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to try and make this COVID spray bottle. This COVID. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to try and make this um, disinfectant COVID spray bottle. Okay, so we're going to start off with the bottom shape using an extrude, using mid-plane extrude. We're then going to make the arm or the neck, sorry, of the bottle with the finger grips, and then we'll move on then to the spout with the trigger and the cap fastener, and then the nozzle. Okay, so where we're going to start is we're going to create the body shape. So we're going to start with new part, hit OK, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go File, Save As. I'm going to save it to my desktop, and I'm going to call it Disinfectant Spray Bottle. Okay, so at least I know where I have it saved. It's going to be on this PC in the desktop, and it's going to be saved on the desktop, so I'll be able to find it easily, and I know the location of it. What I can do then afterwards is I can upload that to OneDrive, and therefore I can access it from any computer. So what we're going to start with is the right plane, because the bottle is going to be facing towards us, so the body shape is going to be on the right plane. So I select the right plane, I select sketch. It already gives me to a normal 2 view, so I'm going to start with just getting my basic shape set up. So I'm going to start with a base center line. I'm going to hit escape. Now what I want with this base center line is I want the center of my construction line to be on the origin. So I'll right click on that line, select mid plane, hold control on the keyboard and select the origin. Over here then in the relations I'm going to choose coincident, and this means that wherever I move my dot, it's going to always be in the center of the origin. I'm going to draw another 3 center lines, one for the left, hit escape on the keyboard, one up the middle, hit escape on the keyboard, and one on the right. Again, hit an escape on the keyboard, making sure all 3 are vertical. These are going to be my guides. So I'm going to smart dimension the right hand side because the maximum measurement of the bottle is around 150 millimeters. The base of the bottle is around 95, and the left hand side is around 130. Okay, the middle line is just going to provide us with a guide for the middle. Okay, so now with that, once I'm finished with my 3 measurements, you can notice how as I dimension the sketch, the buttons and the lines are turning black, which means I'm fully defining them. And the middle one again is just a guide, so it doesn't need to be fully defined, but what we can do is maybe position it so that it is horizontal with the highest point. Select the 2 of them and choose horizontal, so now it is turned black as well. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the spline feature, which is going to create the curve of my bottle on the left hand side. So I'll start with here and I'll click 2 points and I'll hit escape, and as it looks at the minute it just looks like a vertical line. However, when we select it we can see that it has these arrowheads and diamonds, and that means that it is a spline that created it. You can see over here on the left, and if I choose the diamond head I can manipulate the curve to create my shape. So okay, I'm happy with that shape. I'm going to do the same on the right hand side. Again, hit escape on the keyboard, select the line again and choose the arrowhead. I'm just going to take this and tweak it back a little bit, and I'll do the 3rd spline, which is connecting the 2 of these. Again, hitting escape on the keyboard, selecting that line again and choosing the arrowhead. Now when we look at our COVID bottle or disinfectant bottle, the curve is mainly to the right hand side, or there's a higher point to the right hand side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the arrowhead and I'm going to reduce that so that we get a bit of a different curve. Okay, so I have to close off the sketch then at the base with a horizontal line, and when I do this you can see a blue shape, a preview has come up to say that I have a closed shape, and that can give me a feature. Now at this stage what I'm going to do is I'm also going to add in my two curves at the top. So I'm going to choose my sketch fillet. The radius that I want for my fillet is 10 millimeters, and I'm going to zoom in here and select my point. And as I do it, you can see a preview pops up. I'll choose this other point over here. I'm happy with those two, and I'll hit the green tick. Now it has turned blue again, but it should still be fully defined. So what I have at the minute is I'm very happy with that shape, and what I'm going to do then is go to Features, Extrude Boss or Base. Instead of choosing blind, what I'm going to do is choose mid-plane, which is going to make it the right plane on which I drew it on, in the middle of the object. So I'm going to increase the size of the extrusion to 70 millimeters, and I'm also going to put a little draft or taper on the object, so that as it moves out from the center it gets a little bit smaller in both directions, as you can see there. Okay, so I confirm that, and that has given me my taper. Now there's going to be a little bit of an issue at the bottom here, so it's going to be sitting on one point, but we'll sort that at the very end. Okay, also there's still a few unrounded edges, so I'm going to use my fillet feature now to round off the edges. Again, I'm just going to start with radius 10 and maybe change that afterwards if I think it is too big. So I'll choose the front face. As you can see, the preview here on the bottle goes all the way around. This other front face, and I'm going to just change that to 8 millimeters. See how it goes. I think that's a little bit more appropriate for what we're looking for. If I get a view without any lines, I'm pretty happy with how we're getting on there. Okay, so I'll hit the space bar, get my 3D view, get my view back with these shaded with edges, and I'm happy with that. Again, I'm also going to just make sure that perspective is on, so as it's getting further away we get a realistic view. Okay, so that is generally the bottom body formed. Now if I wanted to make any changes, what I could do is again go over here to the left, right click on Boss Extrude, which created it. I can edit the sketch, or I can edit the feature. So if I wanted to maybe make it thicker, or take the draft off it, or if I wanted to change the sketch, so change the curves that originally created the object, I could do both there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rename. So I'll click once, wait a minute, wait a couple of seconds, and click a second time, and I'm going to call that the body. We'll just call it maybe the main body. Okay, and the fillet is the round over of the object. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is we're going to create the neck of the bottle. So if we go back to our picture, we can see we're going to create this neck of the bottle here. Now this bottom shape here is an ellipse, and this top shape up here is a circle. So we're going to use a loft feature going from the ellipse up to the circle. So what I need to do is create the ellipse first. I'm going to use a reference geometry plane, and we're going to create a circle using the same feature, and then we're going to loft between the two of them and create guide curves. So we have a lot of work just to create this shape, but it will pay off. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to go to make sure that I've told the computer I'm finished with everything. Okay, I'm not in a feature or in a sketch or anything at the minute. I go to reference geometry plane. Now it asks me for a reference here. I'm going to open up the design tree on the side and choose the top plane. The distance that I want between the top plane is not majorly important, but I'm just going to go with on 130 for now. I'm going to hit the green tick, and that's where I want the position of my plane. And what I can do is I can rename that plane as ellipse plane. Okay, so select the ellipse plane, sketch onto it, space bar to get my 90-degree view, and I'll use the ellipse tool up here. Now when we use the ellipse tool, we just have to do 3 clicks. The first one is the center of the ellipse. The second one is to dimension the major axis. The third click is to dimension the minor axis. So once that's done, I now just have to dimension it. So we have here that the center point of the ellipse is going to be coincident with the center of it, and the top point is going to be coincident with the center of it also. So all I need to do is put some sizes onto it. So maybe if I go 70 millimeters, by 40 millimeters, and it hasn't turned black yet because the position of the ellipse is unknown, so we need to lock it into a position. So I'm just going to choose somewhere close to there. I'm going to dimension the center of my ellipse from the center of my bottle to be 6, and I'm happy with that position. And as you can see, it's fully defined, fully turned black, and I'm going to confirm that. Again, sketch 2 there, I'm going to rename as ellipse. Now I'm going to create the exact same thing for the circle above it. So I'm going to go reference geometry plane. The reference that I want to use is this plane, and the distance between the two of them is going to be 80 millimeters. Thereabouts. Again, measurements for the minute are not essential, but again, when you're making a real-life object, you do want to have it as close as possible and using round numbers. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to rename that ellipse, or that plane, to circle plane. Confirm. And I'm going to create a sketch on that. Spacebar, normal 2. Go to sketch tools, create my circle. Now the size of the circle is roughly about 40 millimeters, and the position of it, of my circle, is just off center. So if we look at the bottle, the circle, if this was the center of it, it's just off center towards the back, and the kind of same with the ellipses towards the back side. So we make sure that we try to accommodate for that. So again, the smart dimension for here is going to be quite narrow. We'll go with 5 millimeters. It's quite close to center. Again, we can change that if it doesn't look right afterwards. So now what I have is I have a circle and I have an ellipse. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to loft between the two of them just to see what I have. I choose my loft feature. In here in the profiles, I'm going to select my ellipse and select my circle. As you can see, we get the neck of the bottle. However, we're lacking the curves at the front and the back of the neck. And that's where we're going to add in our guide curves. And again, you can see an example of it here with this icon that it's going to predict the path between one profile and the other profile. So at the minute, I'm not going to confirm that. And instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to create my back guide curve profile and my front guide curve profile. So what I'm going to do now is on the right plane, I'm going to create a sketch, spacebar, normal 2. Again, we're going to use spline, and I'm just going to draw it out to the right hand side here initially. Hit escape, and I'm going to just get a 3D view here now. So if I click on the spline, create a rough curve, and then what I can do is I can select my top point, hold Control, select a circle, and then use pierce as my relation. I'll do the same thing at the bottom, select the point, hold Control. I'm going to zoom in and select this point here, and I'm going to again, okay, I'll not select the point, I'll just select the curve because I always want the pierce feature, and it will pierce to that point automatically. Now I have a rough enough curve there, but again, if I look at my bottle, I can change that around to be a little bit more appropriate. Again, we can shorten the top curve if we wanted to, and that will give us a guide curve. If I click on this bottom one here at the bottom and manipulate that, I can actually make that to be a vertical profile if I wished, but I don't for this situation, so I'm just going to let it come back out first and then curve around. Again, we can manipulate those curves around by changing our two arrowheads and our directional diamonds. Okay, so that's guide curve 1. I'm happy with that. That's the back curve. Again, I'm going to rename this. So I've sketch 3 here. I forgot to rename as the circle. And sketch 4 here is I'm going to call it the back guide curve. And as you can see, I'm currently out of the sketch. I have no sketches created. And I have 3 sketches so far for this neck. I have the ellipse, I have the circle, and I have the back guide curve. I'm now going to create the front guide curve. So I'll do the same thing. Right plane, sketch, sketch, create an ellipse or a spline, sorry. We go normal to, click it out to the side, hit escape, click back onto the ellipse, get our curve. We can manipulate it a little bit. And then I'm going to get my 3D view, select the point, hold control, select circle and pierce, select the point, select the ellipse and pierce. Now if I look at it at a normal 2 view, again I can change my curve in accordance with my front curve. So again, what I might want is I might want it to come out. I might want this little curve here. So actually what I might want is I might want that to be horizontal. I might want to elongate that or shorten that. And again, I might want to elongate this curve or shorten it depending on your shape. So if I'm happy with that, I'm going to confirm that and I'm going to call that my front guide curve. So I'll call this my front guide curve. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to loft between the two of them. So if I go to features, loft, choose my ellipse. I'll do it this way, choose ellipse, choose circle. And again, the curve I want between the two of them is to be straight. Then the guide curve that I want to select is back guide curve and front guide curve. Hit confirm, and we now have our neck. If we add in a fillet around here, we can soften that edge a little bit. Okay, and that's how I'm going to create my neck.